Are you seeking a better way to accelerate your sales, to scale your business, to live a life with no limits? Accelerate Sales Podcast features global experts who have cracked the code to recurring revenues with proven sales systems and get you on the fast track to scaling. Now let's accelerate your sales with today's episode.
Hi, I'm Paul Higgins and welcome to the Accelerate Sales Podcast, episode number 420. You're going to learn lots of things, but three in particular from this wonderful guest. One is how to run a consultancy business on top of your full-time job, how to play in communities to gain new clients. And they talk about Facebook, LinkedIn groups, and it's wonderful. And the third thing is how the riches are in the niches or niches, depends how you do it. So if you're a first time and you love what you hear, please subscribe. If you're a regular, always appreciate those reviews. Certainly take notes, but there are some summary notes in the platform you're listening to, and you can also get more detailed notes at paulhigginsmentoring.com, and you can always ask for a full transcript as well. And before we go into the interview with Allison, I'd like to thank our sponsors. The first one is the Cloud Consultants Collective. It's a free community for like-minded peers, so people that are selling technology, helping each other. And you can find out more at the cloudconsultantscollective.com. And the next is SendSpark, which is a wonderful personalized video platform that allows you to really put yourself forward. So who's best at selling yourself? It's you, and you can do this through video. And SendSpark have given us 6 months free if you go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/SendSpark. So our guest today is Allison. Now, she's got multiple careers. She's a Salesforce developer for a large life science company, and she also owns two of her own businesses, Shay Hawk Solutions and AT Study Buddy. But her focus on Shay Hawk Solutions, which is the Salesforce consultancy practice that she's got on her own, is helping health and wellness companies. And she does, amazing job for that. The AT Study Buddy is more for a test platform for students. And she's also herself an accredited athletic trainer, and she's just about to become a doctorate, which she mentions in the show. In her free time, she also spends time with her two sons, 6 and 3, and she loves to run and read. And I don't know when Allison actually gets time to sleep. So what I'll do now is hand you over to Allison Strickland for a wonderful interview. Great to have you here, Allison.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this interview because, there's people, cloud consultants on all different scales, right? Or all different steps in scaling their business. And you might be watching and, you've heard a lot of people that have been very successful and built teams, et cetera. But I think it's really important also to talk about people that have got, lives, they've got families, and they're actually doing consulting as a way to get some incremental income. It may turn into the full-time business, but they're at the moment they're sort of juggling a bit of both, a career and also some consulting. And that's what Allison's definitely doing. And it's great to have you here to represent that part of our community. And why don't we kick off? Who are the clients that you love to work with, and what are some of the problems that you're solving for them?
Sure. So I actually have a healthcare background. My undergraduate degree was in sports medicine, and I got my master's degree in health education and kinesiology. So I worked in clinic and in the healthcare side for many, many years. My husband decided that we didn't need to live in the Chicago suburbs anymore and moved me to the super fun state of Iowa. If you've ever watched Field of Dreams, that's where we're at. Lots of corn. So moving, struggled to find a job right away. I actually ended up working for a med tech company when we moved, who was focused, their primary customer was basically the healthcare industry that I was in. So they brought me on board to kind of be the voice of the customer internally. So that's really how I got into tech, and that's where I learned Salesforce. So I wasn't really their primary Salesforce person, but they wanted me to know how to use it because I was using other software like our LMS system, different reporting, structures. So they paid for me to get my Salesforce administrator certificate while I was there. The company was bought out, so a lot of leadership changes. I decided to leave there and actually pivoted, directly into Salesforce. Started off as an administrator and then worked my way up to developer. I actually haven't taken the developer exam, but that's my job title, so I'll run with it. So I've been full time doing Salesforce for about 5 years now, and what came out of that during those 5 years was I had made so many connections with different people that I'd worked with over the years, more on the tech side, that were healthcare professionals who were looking for people that knew how to do a lot of things, with LMS systems, with health education, and with Salesforce. So what I started to do was to just consult on the side. Really they were coming to me because they knew me, they trusted me. I'd been in the industry for, many years at that point. And so it kind of grew into a company unintentionally. And so that's where my consultant business, Shayhawk Solutions, came from.
Yeah, great. And when you first started, did you start it as an LLC, or was it, what was the sort of the structure of the business when you first launched it?
Yep. I originally started as a sole proprietorship, just because it kind of started as like a friends and family deal where it was someone I knew very well and, had worked with before. And, year over year, it started to grow some more. It wasn't until year 3 that I converted it into an LLC, primarily because I started another company that I wanted to have a little more protection around. So that's when I built the LLC and I put both companies under them.
Yeah, and how did you set your pricing in the early days? How did you go about that?
I was very serious and did a lot of research about it. What I actually did was I took my Salesforce salary that I made at my full-time job and I figured out what my hourly rate was, and that's what I charged.
Right.
Figured that's what someone thought I was worth. So,
and has that sort of progressed since then?
Yep. So since then, obviously my prices have increased as I've been able to take on more and more clients. Really, it just became to the point where I needed to raise my prices in order to lower the amount of clients that I was taking in and continue to bring in more revenue. So that's a perk of growth, is that, charge higher prices, do less work.
Yeah. And what's been the best way to gain new clients? Because, that's great that you've got over capacity, but have you been able to gain those clients?
Really 2 ways. The first way, like I said, I really started out as a friends and family business. People who knew me, had connections with, were reaching out to me because they knew that I had done this for another company. And so they were actually coming to me with this, which was great. That's how I got started. I know that's how it got started. But as I realized that, I could start to grow this a bit more, what I actually found was the best way to market my services was to go out and look at the communities that I was already in. And for me, that was healthcare and health education, and really higher education for healthcare. So, university programs and things like that. So, being in those communities, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, following certain hashtags on Instagram and Twitter, I was able to go in and just make connections, and it's not for me anyway, a very intentional thing where I'm, every day from 9 to 10, I'm going to go in and I'm going to scroll through all my groups. If I was just, sitting around with my kids and they were, falling asleep, I might be scrolling through my phone and be like, oh, they asked a question that I think I can answer. And being a voice who is able to solve a problem for another person puts value behind your name. And if you continue to be in those groups and providing value over and over and over, people are going to notice that. And eventually what started happening was I became, well enough known in those groups that people stopped posting those questions and just came directly to me. And really, it's at that point that you're able to market yourself and sell your services instead of just offering free advice. You could offer free advice up to a certain point, but if it's something more complex where I'm saying, hey, this is the solution you need. If you need someone to come in and set this up for you, let's talk. Let's have a more formal conversation about it.
Yeah, great. And how did you go about finding the right groups, whether it be Facebook or LinkedIn?
Yep. Really having a niche market in mind is in my mind the best decision that you can make as an entrepreneur, a small business owner. And for me, it happened organically because I was already in a niche as a professional. I was already in healthcare, ed tech, continuing in education for healthcare providers. So it was easy for me to really niche down. But, for someone who may be starting out and doesn't necessarily know how to find their niche, what I would maybe say is, if you're, drowning, trying to find, a client, look at the net that you're casting. Is it easier to, cast a net with thousands of little fish and hope you get one? Or is it, easier to cast a net to a very single area where there might be a couple small fish, but maybe, 2 or 3 bigger fish right there? You're more likely to catch a bigger fish in a smaller area, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's like, if I were to, have a healthcare condition like cancer or something, am I going to go to a family practitioner or a general specialist, healthcare person? No, I'm going to go to a specialist. And, if you are wanting to charge higher prices and really be the go-to person, you have to choose a specialty. And for me, that was, the healthcare industry and education industry. So if you're struggling to choose a niche, what I would probably start with is asking you if you've had a client before that was just the bomb, like what did you like about them? Yeah. That's a good place to start. If you know what you liked about them, was it that they were maybe in fintech? Were they maybe, in real estate? What was it about them that you like to work with? Because generally going from industry to industry, you're going to see the same trends, the same personalities, the same, outlook on how they want to do business over and over and over again.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree more. And it's funny with my journey, I was had a cloud consulting practice. We were lucky enough to build it up and sell it. And then I don't know for what reason, but I sort of just went into broader coaching and consulting. And, I even used to debate, am I going after coaches or consultants? It was so generic. And there's so many people like that. Now I am very specific. I only help cloud consultants. So I've definitely seen the benefit of being that. And every time I have a client and we work on their LinkedIn strategy, it's always, look, just pick one specific area. So when someone comes to your profile, they 100% know that it's you. And, I like the analogy you use, but the one I always use is like a car, use the specialist one, which I think is a really good one. The other one is like the car yard. Are you going to go buy a car where there's multiple brands within the car yard, or the car, if you really want a brand of a car, you'll go to that dealer, right? And I think it's the exact same thing. It just makes it so much easier, and it's better, like you've proven, it's better to be a large fish in a small pond, I think, than the other way around, to use once again your analogy. And if you're listening to Allison and you're thinking, yeah, look, I know I need to be scrappy to get some income to begin with, that's fine. But still, on your profile and who you go after in the Facebook group, the LinkedIn groups, be very specific on who that is, because referrals will always come to you regardless of what your profile says and what your market position is, because you've been referred, right? And that'll be what most of your business when you begin with. I think for you, Allison, it was the same, family and friends. But as you evolve, you stand for something. And have you seen any cons? Like, there's definitely lots of pros of doing that. Have you seen any cons of being, picking a specific niche or niche? Depends where you are in the world.
Yeah. The only con that I would say is, I would consider it both a pro and a con, is that I'm going to go back to the healthcare thing because that's what I know and love, is a specialist is going to charge higher prices than a generalist. That's just how it is. A neurologist is going to charge more than my family doctor. That's how you make money.
Yes.
So it's going to be the same for you. If you're really tight into your niche, you're going to be able to charge higher prices, but sometimes that comes at a cost because you're going to lose clients who don't want to pay that amount. So that's where I think you can kind of come, at a con a little bit, is that, if you're maybe just starting out, maybe you're able to say, this is what I charge, but because I really want to work with you, I'm going to charge this amount and sell it like that. But, prices, especially with cloud consulting, like they just generally scare people because they generally are a higher, cost than most people are used to paying for, saying like, a marketing or an SEO consultant or something like that.
Yes.
But what we do is a valuable skill and a very sought after skill, and that's why we're able to charge the prices that we do.
Yeah, and do you get many requests for people saying, "Look, love to work with you, Allison, but I'm not on Salesforce or I'm on another platform. Will you help me out with that platform?"
Yep. Occasionally I get requests for HubSpot. I can go in and do some simple integrations, but if it's anything beyond that, I outsource it. I'll find someone on, that I know already knows how to use HubSpot, and I'll say, hey, I have this client. I got them started. Can you finish it up? And I'll just bring them on as a contractor for that project.
Yeah, and it's interesting that in our community, the Cloud Consultants Collective, that often happens. Recently I had a HubSpot partner saying, "Look, I need a Salesforce partner to do X." So that collaboration happens very much in our community because I think you've made two really good choices. One is I think you've picked one platform and stuck to it. I think that's better, and you don't need every client in the world, right? You just need enough clients for your capacity. And the other is that you've niched. And I think if you're doing those two things, you've stand a much better chance than trying to be all things to all people and all platforms for all people. I think that's different. And we went through that journey in us. We were very specific to a platform. We picked the wrong one because it was bought out by someone else and it just didn't work. Then we went to agnostic, and agnostic, just the amount of training, the support, everything to be, all platforms was just too great. So I think you've hit the nail on the head. And for you, you basically have four roles, and then, your fifth is, being a mum to some great kids. But, how do you sort of go about juggling, these four hats that you're wearing?
Sure. Obviously my full-time job always comes first. I mean, that's my bread and butter. Daycare in the United States is very expensive, which is the reason I keep a full-time job right now. My kids are younger and still not in elementary school. So I think the beauty in cloud consulting is that it's a very flexible position, in that a lot of times you can make your own hours. You're able to, do the work when you have time for the work. A lot of my marketing, like I said, I'm able to do it on my phone on the go. If we're in the car driving to the grocery store and it's going to take us 10 minutes to get there, I can get on my phone and, answer some questions. Like,
as long as you're not driving, obviously.
Yeah. If my husband is driving, get on, whatever social platform and work for 10 minutes. And it's like, I haven't even really worked at all. I've just been sitting in the car. What else would I have been doing? So I'm pretty intentional about my time with my family. Generally from the time my kids get home around 5 p.m. Until they go to bed at between 8 and 9, like that is my family time. I'm pretty strict about it. I don't do any work during that time. And then I generally try not to do work, during our family time on the weekends. My kids are still young enough that they nap, so I can be a nap time warrior and get it done. But, if I do need to work on the weekend, I'm pretty strict about, saying I'm going to work from this time to this time. And if I don't get it done, that's fine. But that's the time that I'm going to work. Family always comes first, and work can go away tomorrow. So
and I think that's great because it's interesting. I've got a friend who's very senior in a corporate role, and he's always having a go at me that I never work, right? And every time he phones is typically when I'm not physically at my office, right, or at my desk at home. And yesterday he called me, I'm in the gym. And he said, where are you? The golf course, the gym, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, I'm at the gym. And he goes, oh, God, you never work. I said, what do you mean? I'm working the whole time in between sets. I'm either doing my emails, I'm doing my social media. And like you said, that's the great thing, like the technology we provide people allows them the freedom to do this. So, we get to work in a great way. And also our clients, we give the gift to the clients to do that. So that's great. And what do you think, fast forward, where do you think you're going to go? Well, you think you'll end up, or you tell me, out of your 4 options, which one seems to be the one that you're most passionate about in the future?
Well, my business continues to grow year over year, but I've kind of gotten to the point where I have a few clients on retainer. So I have very consistent income, and honestly, I'm very comfortable with that. Until my kids are fully out of school, primary school and into regular school, I don't really foresee myself changing much, just because, like I said, daycare is so expensive in the United States. I just got to grind it out until we get over that hill. But I feel like I'm in a really comfortable place. And honestly, as an entrepreneur, I don't think that's a bad thing. If you're in a really comfortable place and you're like, I'm happy sitting here for this season, that's totally okay. I'm, making, about the same as my full-time job. I could quit if I want, but, it's nice to have the additional income for now. We're able to pay for daycare, go on vacations, do house projects, without having to worry about money. And, that's really what it's all about for me right now, where maybe in 2 years when my kids are, going to school and, maybe I'll scale back and move to, more consulting, or, maybe I'll get offered like a really high paying position at a company. I'm open to that too. It's just, finding the flexibility that you want and having it meet your personal goals, because, while it's nice to work for yourself, there are benefits for working for other people as well. There's nothing wrong with that. And maybe in 5 years, whatever is happening with my family is going to require working for a company. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And I think, it's great if you listen to Allison. I think, it's your personal choice, right? I always say to people, people come to me and say, I want to achieve X revenue. And I'm always like, well, hang on, let's take a step back. Like, what do you want to achieve in your life? And then let's determine what revenue you need or what business model you need to do that. And there's no right or wrong. Like for me personally with my health, you talk about health, I've had a transplant. I've got to be careful. I've always got in the back of my mind, well, what happens if I actually, I lost my kidney tomorrow, right? There's always a chance that it could reject at any time. So I'm of the view that I don't want to have a huge team, and I don't want to have a really a big business. I think I've got the capability to do it because I've done it in the past, but I don't want to do that again. And that's my choice. So that's why, I spend a lot of time helping others. So, if you're listening to Allison, and, I think it's always great to have options, right? So I like the way that you've got options. You can either, continue to be employed. You can, upskill your own business. I think it's great to have that. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, to create a different option to always, you got to scale to be big, and big isn't always better. I think, and certainly profit is much better than top line revenue, is I'm sure you can attest to. So look, it's been great having you on, giving that different perspective, and well done for juggling all those roles. What I'd love to do now is just ask you some questions, just to dive a little bit deeper to finish off the podcast. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, great. So the first one is, what are some of the sales habits? And I know you've spoken about Facebook groups and LinkedIn, etc. But are there any other sales habits you do daily in certainly in your own business?
Sure. Really, I think a lot of my own sales habits have really brought me consistent customers in that I get repeat business. And a lot of that is staying in touch. So, maybe if I haven't heard from a client in a while, maybe 3 to 4 months, maybe I shoot him an email and just say, hey, how's it going? How did this project turn out for you that we did together a couple months ago? Do you need anything else? Anything upcoming? Because I always make it sound like I'm busier than I am, or I'm like, I'm scheduling out for December, right now. And so, if you have something in the works, let's talk about it right now, because then I can also anticipate income a little further out. Something I've had to kind of get over with some of my clients is them messaging me and be like, we need to start this project tomorrow. I'm like, well, hold up. Like that's not how this works. And, having the connection, earlier on and staying connected, even if you're not doing active work for them, I think is very important. It keeps you, at the front of their mind. And then also if they do have projects, you're making sure that you have time for them and that they're on your schedule. And the other thing that I do is I really just still stay active on social media. I will occasionally do just some keyword searches in groups. I might be looking for other groups to join, or I may leave some that may have kind of died off because I just don't, maybe they've changed, or people just aren't posting in them anymore. Don't be afraid to leave groups if they're getting like that.
Yes.
So it just saves time for you down the road. So going in there and just still offering value. It kind of depends on how my work fluctuates. If I'm really busy and I know I just can't take on a lot of new clients, I may not be as active on there, because I'm like, if a new client comes to me right now, I can't take them. And that's another thing I think is important for people too, is like, know when you've reached your max and you need to say no.
Yeah, great. And look, I won't go down a rabbit hole because this is meant to be the quick answers, but the like VAs, I think, getting someone to do some of that while you're still doing other things, I think is always a great option. So the next question is around tips for you. How do you find out better ways to sell?
Yeah. Really, I think it's just staying on top of what's good in the industry. I'm dipping into TikTok a little bit, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, be careful. It's a very addictive platform.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My 5-year-old loves it. He wants to, before bed every night, like, can we watch 10 minutes of TikTok? Like, and he loves like the pimple popper videos. Like he's just like me. He likes all the gross stuff. So,
they're my wife's favorite.
Yeah.
Well.
LinkedIn is always like a very rapidly changing place. And so staying, kind of on top of what's changing on the best practices for LinkedIn, I think is important. Every couple months, I'll kind of go and see what changes have happened with LinkedIn, because it seems like they're always adding a new feature, adding something. Yes. At least they're at a higher pace than I would consider the other social platforms that seem to kind of have, found their groove and are just kind of riding it. Facebook changes its layout, like every 6 months or something. And that's all they do now. So,
yes. Yeah. I think, I just, when people always ask what's the most important tool or et cetera, to me, I think, LinkedIn's been the most important way for me to grow all of my businesses. It's just it's an incredible platform. And if you're not on it, so like Allison said, if you're not on it, please do it. And if you want some help, reach out to me, because I've been doing it for a long, long time now, and we've got really good results for both me and my clients. But yeah, it's a great platform. So the next question is, if we could grant you one wish for your business, what would that be?
Oh gosh, come buy me out. Just shove that money away for a rainy day.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's sad.
Yeah, and looking back on what you know now, what do you wish you had have done earlier in this journey of running this portfolio career?
I think that I wish I would have acted like a business a little sooner than I did.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's just learning, curve over time. Having my, books in order, and I think I would have gotten my LLC a little sooner. The United States has a crazy tax code, and it's insane. So, being able to maximize, what I was able to keep instead of giving it to the government would have been good a little sooner. Um, I have a VA. I wish I would have hired one sooner.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's hard to think that you're letting go of money to pay someone else to do what you could be doing, but also realizing that you do have a max capacity, I think is also important. And I've seen nothing but growth after hiring her. So, I mean, it worked out.
Yeah, well, to use your analogy, like the surgeon isn't doing, going and as a GP and screening everybody, right, to work out which is the perfect clients for him, right? Or him or her, I should say, or I don't know what you say now. I know it's a bit tricky with certainly here is what you can say, but whoever the person is, but yeah, I think, it's the exact same thing. And I've never known someone to give a virtual assistant back. But I've definitely known, like you said, most people say, I just wish I had come to this sooner. So once again, if you're thinking like that, reach out. I ran a VA business for 5 years and have a lot of contacts, and we've got a lot of great partners that can provide VAs around the world. But I think it's great. Well, look, it's been an absolute joy having you on, Allison. You can find more about Allison on a LinkedIn profile. We'll have that in the show notes. And also you can go to shayhawksolutions.com. So once again, we'll have those links in the notes as well. But it's a joy. Thanks for giving a different perspective, and well done for all the things you balance. And we haven't even spoken about what you do in the athletic side as well. So I know you've got a whole different career there as well. But it's great.
Starting my dissertation here too soon. You can call me Dr. Allison in probably about 18 months. So.
Excellent. Wow. That's so impressive. All right. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that interview with Allison. I hope you did as well. I love the fact that she talked about, the communities and how she gains clients from them, and also working in the gaps. I like whether it's on the way to the shops, wherever, and you can constantly be marketing and also be active. Now it's so much easier with the platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook. And if you've learned something specific, give Allison a little bit of a plug on her LinkedIn, or you do it on your profile. Take a photo of the interview and thank her. She'd love that. Obviously get the summary and the links that we mentioned. That's in the app you're listening to, and also in the show notes. That's at paulhigginsmentoring.com. And why not share this with other people, in particular other people that are currently in a job and they're looking to start that side hustle. They're in a job that uses, whether it's Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho, whatever the platform is, and they're looking to extend that. I know Monday.com, we've got a few people in our community that do that. So please send that with her. Check out our solo shows. Don't forget that free community, which is the cloudsconsultantscollective.com. And next week's guest is Gene Marks. And Gene is a brilliant economist, or he talks about the economic environment. He's going to talk about it and how it relates specifically to you, the reasons he is multi-platform rather than one like Allison, and also tips for getting media spots, because he is a guru at doing that. As always, please take action to accelerate your sales.
I'm fired up after today's episode. What about you? But hey, before you go, learning is just one piece of the puzzle. Now it's time to put today's strategy into action. Head over now to today's show page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and share how you'll put it into action. Be sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review the show. Tell me what your favorite episode is. And don't wait 1 minute more to gain access to your pulse check at paulhigginsmentoring.com. This could be the difference between struggling to get more leads and making this next quarter your best one yet.